everybody. I hope you are all doing wonderful and amazing and that you are just as excited to be here as I am. What happened? You made
I
a
heard
noise.
an echo.
Oh, is it gone now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I hear
yay, that's a great
music.
The terrible music. Okay, I hope it's gone now. Hi
No,
everybody. Yay.
Double music.
Oh, double music. Okay.
Double music.
So, yes, I have a friend with me. Some of you may know her. You all should know her. She's like awesome, amazing. Big parts of the Geeks and Gamers ladies and teams. Everybody say hello to Tugs.
Hi.
Hey, girl.
That's me. Hello.
How are you?
Fabulous. How are you?
Oh, wonderful. I'm so excited to talk about this movie. I think that you are probably one of the only other human beings on Earth that possibly loves Brendan Fraser more than I do. Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
At least
Brendan, Zachary Levi, Henry Cavill, and Chris Pratt. Those are my top 4. Well, Brendan's numero uno. He has been since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm. And I love how one of my favorite things is when people are like, well, have you seen him lately? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, so what's your point?
Like, do you know what he's gone through? And he's still an incredible human being.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
He's still pretty attractive. Like when you have to. So I'm already planning to get you back for Mummy Returns as well as Inkheart because like we need to talk about those two.
God, I haven't seen Inkheart in forever. I own it. I found it at a we have a record store here called Zia, and they have like movies and stuff that people will turn in for cash or store credit. And so like they have the most random stuff. So I was like, you know what? I am short on Brendan movies, just like over the years, moving and stuff. A lot of them were on VHS. So I found Inkheart for like $2. And then randomly, I happened to be strolling through like their family section. And I found his journey to the center of the earth, but it's the Steel book, which I didn't even know existed. And that was like $10. And I was like, holy crap. So yeah, I haven't seen
Winning
in years. Yeah, it was great.
I gotta say, I don't think I've seen a Brendan Fraser film that I didn't love. Even the Looney Tunes movie was fantastic. It was so good. And like and obviously like his chemistry with Rachel Weisz is just unparalleled. Like the two of them really help make this. Yeah. They really do.
Which is why the third one flopped so hard, I think, personally.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think it would have done, because the story is, it's like, oh, okay, well, there were, other cultures that did essentially, like, they mummified their, I mean, they talk about all the time, the Yin Dynasty, like, all these dynasties preserved their leaders, and they had all of these statues that, they're like, oh, this is for them to fight with. These are their soldiers for the afterlife and stuff. So it all makes sense. It all tracks. And I think that it should have been its own monster universe, and they never did it. And I was so sad. And I agree. I think that a big part of why it did not go as well, why it 100% flopped, was because they switched Evie's character. And I know it was because of scheduling conflicts, but how are you not going to wait? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, or I would have, because honestly, if you take her out of the equation, if I remember right, it's been a while since I've seen it, but if you take her out of the equation, it does not change the story at all. Like it affects nothing. So you could have easily written her out completely and have it be like this father-son thing. And everything still would follow the same, where their relationship is rocky, and then by the end of the movie they've bonded back together and everything is kosher, right? And they come home and you see Rachel, and she's like, where the heck have you guys been? Like, what is going on? And they're just like, nothing. We stayed out of trouble. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they can. And ended the movie with that. And she could have flown out for that. So easy. 2 days tops.
Yeah, it could have been. Hey. An easy way to make it would have been like, your mom sent us on this trip because she thought it would be a good bonding experience. I'm not happy about it either. I don't know what's happened to us. Like, they could have, you're right, they could have easily upplayed that. Yep. And they didn't do it.
Yep. And they didn't really need her at all. Like, she did nothing to add to the story anyway. And they didn't have the same chemistry. I don't know.
I was not a fan. But speaking of, as anybody that's been here before knows of late, what I tend to do is I let the official trailers play without sound while we talk about the film. So you guys have something to entertain you besides just us. But also, like, just look at how beautiful this movie is. And this is 1999. Like, this has got some incredible practical and special effects. I don't care what anybody says. Imhotep is terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, when when they do the initial jump scare when they're opening up his sarcophagus and he just like falls out and you're like, "Oh, that's it?"
I about peed my pants.
I know. I was like, you're like, "Oh, okay, he's just like leaning." It makes sense cuz the sarcophagus is leaning up. So it makes sense that he would like fall out. But then like you get that second jump scare because he just like all of a sudden pops up and becomes animated and starts screaming and you're like, "Okay. I'm here." It's one of the few movies that has ever pulled off a double jump scare for me.
Yeah, and it's so good too. Like I have the I haven't gotten these on Blu-ray yet, but I have them on their original DVD. And so the last time I watched this, I watched some of the behind the scenes stuff because it's been a while since I've seen it. And a lot of the effects that they did, like they did as much practical on his face as they could, and then they went back in and then CGI like the bug and stuff in, but he's like really chewing on something. You know what I mean? Like it was just really cool to see how they made all that. And then the guys in the
if I remember right, he's chewing on a noodle, if I remember correctly, to get like that crunch sound. He's like chewing on a noodle. And I was like, it's those little details you can really tell that they cared. They really focused on those little details because they didn't have to add the crunch of the bug. Are you kidding? Like they didn't have to add all of that in. They could have superimposed it or overlaid, but no, to actually have him making the crunch sound because he's got noodles in his mouth. I'm like, that's such a cool aspect. Also, that wall of sand.
Yes.
That wall of sand. Holy crap.
I love this movie so much. It's so good.
It is so good. Okay. So my mom and I used to play this. So I think that the cast overall is really attractive, quite frankly. Like even the American diggers are attractive.
I was honestly surprised how much I thought Oded Fair was attractive because normally, like as a kid, especially, you're kind of attracted to that. Well, to be blunt, like that white guy with the blue eyes and maybe dark hair, like Prince Charming look, right? And Oded Fair, I was like, "Oh, hello, who is that?" And he's
like,
just, oh man.
Well, see, and I think because for a lot of people, you're like, "Oh, I'm going to be attracted to the main protagonist, the male lead." Which is obviously hello. God, he is he's so good to look at and he's funny and he's capable. Men, this is what we want.
Where's that man? I don't want
for real. For real, right? But and so like I always thought that he was like super, but I even thought Imhotep, I was like, he's not bad looking either. He's like big and imposing. And when when he takes off his like cloak and stuff, he's like super buff. You're like, dang, this guy could, like, he looks like he could rip you in half. He looks like he could throw you across the room. You know what I mean? And then you just look at Ardep and you're like, okay, like, take me with you. I'm yours. Like, if he was like, leave this place and never, okay, whatever you say.
Okay.
Just, can you repeat it one more time?
What happens if I don't, though? Like, are you going to kidnap me?
right? But if I don't, I don't, what's going to happen? Exactly. Oh god.
Oh man.
Yes. I love him. Like I melted like the first time he spoke, especially because I believe it's Pashto that he's speaking. It might be Farsi. But like he speaks and I'm like, oh, that hits different. That's a deep man voice. That is wow. Okay. And it's interesting because when the movie starts, you get him narrating, but you don't know it's him. But you're like, I really like this guy's voice. I'm into the story. Like this is so cool because it feels almost like you're being read a story almost. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then and then you've got gosh, I'm trying to think. You have their whole if this movie wasn't so horrifying. And, people's innards weren't getting sucked out. It would almost be romantic that Imhotep, murdered
Right?
people, murdered the like helped murder people and stole her body and tried to bring her back from the dead, and then 3,000 years later still tried to do the same thing, it would almost be
Yeah.
romantic, except it's very much not.
Except it's very much not. Guys, don't date people that do that. That's weird.
Yeah. I'm
Don't
all
do
for
that.
devotion, but when we get to the human sacrifice level, now we're getting into some
Yeah,
iffy,
it's a
like,
little bit
probably
crazy.
not. Red
I love all this stuff.
flag,
Like I'm watching the
red flag.
trailer. I love all this stuff. Like all this stuff that a lot of this stuff is real. Like they're really throwing like at the end, they're running out of the
Yes.
tomb and all this stuff is falling. Like they really were pulling stuff down. Brendan really
Mhm.
did fight like his own fight stuff, jumping off the boat and stuff. I don't know. I love
Yes.
the practicality of it. And that's what I think a lot of movies are missing nowadays is there's
Mhm.
not enough practicality. It's so much CGI now and wires and all that stuff. And we didn't really have any of that until I don't even know.
And like you
I-
can like
I don't even
we
know.
are this movie is now this movie's now what, 22 years old?
Good. Yeah, I'm old.
Well, I mean, if you me too. But if you think about it, so this movie is 22 years old. We have advanced technologically by leaps and bounds. But this film and Jurassic Park, which came out around like Jurassic Park is in 1998 or 99, isn't it?
No,
Right?
93.
No, 93.
1993.
Okay, so see, it's even sooner. So like this movie, Jurassic Park, the first TMNT, which of course I did a live stream on with Tom and Nerdy Home. We did stuff, but we talked about it. The like these movies, they leaned more on practical effects and they still hold up today. Like you can watch this today and it's like, this is a good movie. This looks fantastic. Like this is wonderful. Even like, the fact that they lean so much more on practical effects really lets you know that this could last longer. Hold on, now I can hear an echo.
I agree.
Is that better?
Yeah, no, you're
Sorry.
good. I didn't hear one.
Okay.
It's a great story, and it doesn't like that's all it is. It's just a story. There's nothing more to it. This is the story. There's a little bit of everything for everybody. There's a little bit of a horror element if you're a horror fan. God, why is that word so hard to say? A horror fan. If you like, adventure films, it's that. If you're a big history buff, it's that. If you like romance, it has that. Like it's everything over it. And it's just so good. And we just don't get movies like that anymore.
No, we do not. And I love like I love how even religion comes into this, but it's very much like you have the Egyptian history, like the gods and the pharaohs and stuff, but then you also have the 10 plagues of Egypt, which is of course really like biblical stuff.
Yeah.
So
yes, and then Benny
always,
uses the different languages.
Yes, exactly. Like he's pulling out all those charms, and then he finally lands on the Jewish star, the Star of David, and he's like the language of the slaves, and you're like,
You're like, oh yeah, that's right, Egyptian. Duh. Totally forgot that.
But yeah, so it's like this film just it does so much respect to so many things, and it's so much fun to watch. And I really do think it's a monster movie. Like it's literally the mummy is looking for his bride. He's killing people to find her. He's gonna human sacrifice a woman in order to get his love. So like this is a monster movie, and like everybody fights me on this is not a Halloween film, and I'm like, I beg to differ. Have you seen the bugs in this movie? Like for real?
Oh god, the scarabs. Oh my god, it could be. I mean, I wouldn't know I don't know if that was what I would think when I first, but I can see where you're coming from because it is. One, it's a universal picture. Two, it is a modern take. Like if you watch the behind the scenes stuff, Stephen Sommers flat out is like it's a modern take on the original Mummy, which has been a monster, a monster movie, a horror monster movie for I don't know when did the Mummy first come out? The 30s. So
37, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's right up there. They're right up there with Frankenstein and all that stuff. The only difference is that it's not focused on the horror. This one is not focused on the horror elements. So I think a lot of people are like, well, it's not a horror movie because it's not focused on the element, but it has a lot of horror to it. It just isn't focused on that. But yeah, totally. I wanted to cross
on all of you.
Right?
It's literally classified as an adventure horror
Oh, see?
Saying.
There you go. Google knows all.
Google does. Google knows pretty much everything, and if not, IMDb is a pretty reliable source for the most part. Not always, but usually. Yeah, I think. Okay, I gotta say, one of the coolest things in this movie for me is the mirror trick.
Yeah. I wonder if that's a thing. Is that a real thing that they used to do back in the day?
I think that is a real thing because remember they did this in what is that thing? National Treasure. They like it was except they lit the torches on the wall, but they they were looking for alternate light sources. But he even said, like, I believe Nicolas Cage's character in that movie says sometimes it was mirrors, but if it was like way too far down like this, they would use they put torches in the wall. So I think that was really a thing.
So now we have to go to Egypt and go find all the mirrors because I want to do it.
Makes me wonder if maybe that's yeah, that would be, oh god, that'd be a blast. This movie is so much, and it's so fun. Like there's so much that happens, and there's so much that the pacing is great. It never it doesn't lag. It gives you time to breathe, but it doesn't drag. You're always like, okay, what's gonna happen next? What are they doing? They're trying to figure stuff out. And actually, so Bastard over sent in a $5 donation and says the best line of the movie is "They're led by a woman. What does a woman know?" And yeah, I love that line. And then she's in there and she's like, "That's the statue of Anubis. Its legs go." And so she's just nailing all this crap. And I love at the end
her being like, "This is this, and this is that, and this is whatever." And the boys are like, "What does this even mean? I don't even know."
Yep, pretty much. And
the editing on that was hilarious. I love it.
I love how he hands her. I love how he hands her the toolkit, and he's like, "Something I borrowed off of our American brethren." And I'm like, borrowed.
She's just like, "Oh, okay." And then later, the guy's like, "Hey, that's my toolkit," and she's like, "Nah, yes." This is my knowing full well he stole it.
I love how it all sort of plays together. I love how it all. That there's really no loose ends left in this film. I love that everything sort of comes back to one or the other. It's great.
Yeah, it all comes full circle.
Yes. And I love it. I love how at the end she does her own little victory hand pump, and she's like, "Take that, Bembridge scholars." And so you still have. I know this is going to be shocking, but that's actually a pretty original feminist movement message right there, where women can be educated and smart and figure things out. That because back then this film, you got to remember, this is in the 1910s, isn't it?
I think something like that. Yeah, somewhere around there. 1910s, 1920s, somewhere around there. Yeah.
So you're looking at that biplane, so it has to be either just, I think it's right after World War I is when this movie takes place, if I remember correctly. So maybe 1918, 19 something like that, 1917. It's but because remember you've got Winston from the British Royal Air Force is down there, and that's where they get. It's like, what's this got to do with Her Majesty's Royal Air Force? Not a damn thing.
1925 says Google or IMDb.
25. Okay, so it takes place in 1925. So it's not common for a woman to she's like, "I'm proud of what I am. I am a librarian," and but that's a big deal. She's in a foreign country. She can speak multiple languages. She can read multiple languages. She's extremely educated, and they're like, they say, "I don't have enough experience in the field," but nobody will take her into the field because she is a woman. And then she goes and does this on her own. So this has actually got a huge pro-woman education leadership message in it, but also it marries it perfectly with the fact that she is really smart. I'm sorry, but there's a reason she gets strapped to the table and almost sacrificed. Have you looked at Imhotep and then you look at her? There's no way. Even Rick gets tossed around like a rag doll, but at least he looks like he can hold his own.
Yeah, and I love that this is one of those movies where she's strong and she's obviously independent and she can hold her own, but she's also very feminine. And she doesn't try and be like, no, men, I've got this. She's like, "No, by all means, men." When they find the sarcophagus for the first time, she's kind of like, "Oh yeah, let me see if I can get this open." She's like, "No, you guys can do it." You know what I mean? She steps back. there you are, men, do your thing. But when it comes to the smart, she knows that she is good at that, and she can say this is wrong and this is this and this and that and the other. But that's why she also becomes the damsel, is because she's little. And I'm sorry, but we're not just going to be able to stand up against a supernatural being. It's just not going to happen.
It's not going to work. I mean, even Rick's getting choked, and she still even, you know, like, yes, Rick is the one that ultimately like kills him and sends him back to the like kills his body. But like, again, it's Evie who's like opening up the golden book and is the book of the live, and is like, keep him busy. And he's like, yeah, sure, no problem. You know, like, you still get those little bits of humor. But even Evie is the reason they're able to kill him, because she can read from the book and send his soul to the underworld, but she isn't going to be able to stab him in the gut with a sword. Like, that's not going to happen. Because if you remember, the only reason that she got away from, oh gosh, I can't, the protectors, like the one that, Audette Bay is part of, why can't I think of their name? Like all of the ones that are protecting the monster, right? The only reason she gets away from the guy with the hook on the boat is because he sees Rick comes in and is like, Evie, and like the candle moves, and so he turns and gets distracted, and she's able to outthink him and is like, okay, flame into eye, and then runs away. Like, that's how she gets out. Like, it's not like she shoulder throws him and, you know, beats him up and then runs.
Exactly.
She's literally like, hey, I need to survive this, and this would probably be the only way to do it, because you can tell, like, even their size difference. There's no way she's gonna what is she gonna do besides poke him in, like, literally poke him in the eye?
Yeah.
She does. It's funny because
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, that's what I love about this movie too, is like, you see her go from, and not that she's helpless, but obviously she's not been taught anything. And then so Rick takes the time to like teach her how to throw a punch, which she ends up using later. And then by the second movie, which is not what this topic is about, but by the second movie, she's adept with weapons, both, you know, melee, like swords and stuff, and guns. She knows how to fight. She knows all this stuff because he takes the time to like say, hey, you know, this is what I'm going to teach you because I know that you're capable of doing it. And there's not one moment where she hesitates. Like, you see her go from, you know, this kind of like, yeah, I want to help, but I really can't. And I don't really know what I'm doing, but I want to help. But, you know, this kind of can-do attitude. And he sort of helps mold her a little bit. And by the end, you see her change just by the end of the movie. And she's more confident. She's able to throw a punch. She can kind of hold her own a little bit more. It's just cool. It's just, their relationship is just so healthy. And you don't see that a lot in movies. It's nowadays, or in general, I guess, really, there's always this kind of power struggle. Either the woman is too strong or the man is too nasty or whatever. They can't really get that. We haven't been able to see that balance in a very long time. And their relationship is just so healthy. I love it. It's my favorite. Couple goals. And I love,
okay, so well, one of my favorite parts of the movie actually is when he's like, okay, she stays here, you three come with me, right? Because they're gonna go out hunting, basically. And then she's like, I am not staying here. And they're like, I don't think I want it. Like, the guys are like, and she's like, I'm not staying. And then he's just like, he gets this look on his face, and you can tell he's like, hey, I'll put up with a lot, I'll listen to you guys, like, I'm gonna be respectful up to a point, but now is not the time.
We don't have time for this.
To act like a bunch of idiots. Like, we've Scoop throws her over her shoulder, dumps her on the bed, and locks her in the room. And he's like, no one goes in, and she doesn't come out. Good? He's like, good. Good. And then he's like, all right, let's go, Jonathan. He's like, oh, I thought I'd. He's like, now. And Jonathan's like, yep. So you can tell that Rick is very much an alpha, but he's not scared. So he is willing to let other people feel strong and empower them and give them, like, basically, like you said, help them build their own self-confidence, as long as he sees that it's not going to like harm them overall, basically. But when it gets to the point where you have Imhotep out there sucking body parts and like flesh out and off of people, he wants to sacrifice Evie. They're still looking for the jars. They got to, like, you know, what this is all about. I think he's like, no, like, I don't have time for all this arguing and bickering. We need, like, this needs to get done this way. That's just how life goes. And, you know, he obviously he helps he does save Evie to a point, like protects Evie to a point because she's in the room. Obviously, unfortunately, like you got the American dude, the blonde one, doesn't do a very good job guarding stuff. But I think it shows that Rick is also pretty smart when because he asked the question. He's like, how come he doesn't like cats? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he's
Like,
noticed that. Yeah, he's like, what's going on? And then he's like, oh, until he's fully regenerated, it's going to be the only thing that scares him because they guard the underworld. Well, that is a useful bit of information. That's a nice little tidbit right there.
That would have been good information to know like 20 minutes ago.
Right? And so and then he walks into Evie's bedroom when he's making monster makeout session with her. Imhotep is.
Yes.
And then he's like, look what I got. You know, so he's like taunting Imhotep.
Yep.
So he's not stupid. By any means. He shows that he's actually like he is a survivalist at the man's got smarts. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like he didn't walk in there and be like, he didn't try to like brute force him or anything like that. So this is proof that even Rick realizes his limitations. Like he's not going to be able to take on this supernatural being without some kind of assistance. You know what I mean?
Yep.
He's like, this is not going to be something that we can just punch or shoot or stab. Like those methods aren't going to work. Oh, he's scared of cats. Cool. I'm going to use that to my advantage.
Yeah.
And
that until we can figure out something else.
I love when he just like kicks the door in and is like, get your ugly face off of her. And you're like, oh
my God.
Yeah.
Like, that whole scene, I was about, how old was I when this movie came out? I think I was just turning 13 when this movie came out. And with I mean, I had a big crush on Brendan Fraser anyway, but when he scooped her up, like he just was like, oh my God. And he picks her up and throws her on the bed and closes the door. And I was like,
yeah.
What? Rewind, please. Can we rewind that, please? And then he kicks the door in and I was like, is this the thing? How do I get one? Mom, how do I get one?
So funny. My mom asked me, she was like, who would be your ideal husband? And so like my mom loves Wesley from Princess Bride, and I don't knock I love Wesley too, but like Rick O'Connell all day, every day. Give me Rick. All day, every day.
That's what I want. I need to put a photo of him on my mirror and like manifest. Like that.
I'm just saying, like, gentlemen, like I'm not kidding you. This is the stuff that girls talk about. Like, if you had to choose, although I'm not gonna lie, if I had to choose between Ardette Bay and Rick O'Connell, that would be a little bit more difficult because they're both, especially in the second film, when he's more involved in the second, when Ardette Bay is more involved in the second film, and you're like, okay, I can't pick. Like, I just love you both.
I'm so glad they made him more prominent. Oh.
Yes. I love how they get you with one last jump scare at the end when his bandaged hand like smacks Jonathan on the shoulder, and you're like, "What?"
Oh,
and then it's like, and you're like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah,
no,
it's
him.
I was so sad.
Oh.
He gets taken away, and I was like in the theater, no. And then at the end, you know, he turns out to be okay. You're like, oh my God, phew! I was so worried.
Listen here, bastard. I do not love a different guy every week, okay? Tug can back me up. We have been Rick O'Connell / Brendan Fraser stans into Eternium. However, I do love different characters from different films. I'm going to tell you which characters I love from those films. Just saying. I'm just saying. And I don't know how you couldn't love this cast. Like, even Jonathan is... Oh, God. He's such a good balance to his sister. He's the older brother, but she's the one taking care of him. She's the one doing everything.
Yep. And I love he's so funny. He's so funny. And their dynamic is hilarious together. And I'm like, I'm totally Jonathan. I have no idea what's going on at any given point in time. Like, things happen accidentally. I don't know what I'm doing. And I would like a beer. Thank you.
Yes. More liquor. Liquor. Like, I don't drink. But if a supernatural mummy popped out of sarcophagus and started sucking my friend's souls, I'd probably take a drink. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, or like you see the
double shot of bourbon, please.
Yeah, no.
Oh man. And like the thing I love about Imhotep is his powers aren't like they're not goofy, if that makes sense. Like when he stands there, he just gets like this presence about him where he like it's like he swells his body up, and like he was even talking about how like he would take on certain poses when he would do his evil glare is like next level evil. And then when he like opens his mouth to let the like flies come out or like the different plagues, you know, he always gets like he expands his chest and he just like he takes up the screen. Like his presence is just foreboding. Like he just he like becomes more massive. And then you get washed over with a plague, or you get your soul sucked out of your body and your organs and whatnot. And you're like, so it's not like he's sitting there with like a lightning ball in his hand and he's shooting it at you, or he's, you know, like it's nothing like that. These are all very, it's like he can control these different plagues and he has control over the elements. He can control the sands. Like they say it in the beginning, he's got power over the sands. And then you see what he can actually do. Like he makes the face in the sand, and then he makes the sand wall, and he can turn into a sandstorm, and he transport them all the way back to Hamunaptra in like minutes. And you're like, damn, this is actually like
this is cool.
Terrifying.
It's legit.
And so his powers aren't corny, I guess, if that, you know what I mean? Like he's not this slow moving crippled mummy. And he doesn't have these like corny powers. This is stuff that you'd be like legitimately terrified of. And it looks fantastic. It's, I really do love Evie's wardrobe in this movie, by the way. I told my mom, I was like,
that black dress. I love that black dress so much.
I know.
I love it. Every time we go to the Mummy ride in Universal Orlando, they have the costumes. Like you walk through, it's like you're walking through the set of the Mummy, you know, a Mummy sequel or whatever. So they have like, you know, quiet on the set, you know, kind of things like that. But they have this little tiny area that's got Imhotep's robes, like the shredded ones that he wears in the scene with the cat, and her black dress. And it's just so simple and so pretty. And at first you're like, is that lingerie? Like it almost like it walks that line where it's you almost are like, ooh, this is kind of scandalous, but it's not. Like it's so, I love it so much. I'm like one of these days.
Yes, it's very classy. And the fact that she's able to, she can do so, like she can do quite a bit in it too. Like she can still move. Like one of the biggest things I hate hearing is that they're like, well, you can't run in a dress, you can't do this in a dress, you can't like do that in a dress. And I'm like,
it's flexible enough.
You obviously don't know who Evelyn O'Connell is. I'm just saying. Like,
yeah. Well, it depends on the dress. Like, you're not going to be able to do any of that stuff in the tight nightclub dress, bodycon tight thing that you're wearing. You're correct.
Yeah. You are correct. Yeah. Like,
I've got flowy dresses that I could do stuff like that and run around.
She can. And what's really funny is I don't know if you've ever done any fencing or anything like that. But there is actually a way, like you're thinking, no. There's actually, so even back then, women were, like, usually it was, of course, like ladies and stuff like that who learned how to handle a sword, and it was usually for self-defense, but they learned how to do daggers and they learned how to use sabers. There is a way that you can actually fold your dress so that it almost becomes like pantaloons, so that you're more free to move. You're less likely to trip. But basically what you do is you take the back of your dress and the front of your dress and you cross them between your legs and you bring them up, and then you tie them on one of your hips. So like the back of your dress comes out the front of your dress goes out the back, and then you stand up and you and then you tie them over your hip into, it's a kind of intricate knot, but it basically gives you pantaloon looking pants, like very poofy pants, but it frees up your ankles and your feet so that you can do more like footwork without tripping over your dress. Yeah, you're not meant to stay in a sword fight for very long. Like the idea of ladies, the reason they had daggers and you know, this is something else that gets lost on modern Hollywood is like accessories were like when you had like daggers in hair clips, or you had like your comb was the comb in your hair had extra sharp teeth or stuff like that. These are all self-defense things that you can hide. Like your brooch has a little dagger in it or something of that nature. But some women could hide because they had pockets in dresses back then too, actually. But they were more like slits where the fabric separated, and you could reach in and you could pull out like a short saber. And the idea is you'd surprise whoever your assailant was, and you would either slash across their chest, or down in the private areas, and that would stop them, and you could run away. That was the whole idea. You're not going to be in a sword fight for very long. And the idea was for you to like run. But yeah, it was so yeah, there's ways you can make a dress work for you and still do things. But yeah, her black dress I absolutely freaking adore. And she
So cute.
I love when they get off the boat and she's like, we've lost all the tools, all the equipment, all my clothes. Like it's number 3 on her list. And I'm like, yes, I would like clothes.
Order of importance.
Yes. Clothes are expensive. They're so expensive. And if you're in a white nightgown and you're having to go traipsing through the desert, that is not what you want to be traipsing through the desert in. Also, this part always made me curious. Are there not crocodiles in Egypt? I thought there were.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe not where they were at. I don't know.
Possibly. That's true. I just always found it curious that, like,
maybe the crocodiles were like, that's a lot. There's a lot.
That's a lot of noise. That's a lot of light. We're gonna
stay over here.
Yeah, we're gonna just walk this. We're gonna float over this way.
There'll be a horse or two that won't make it. We'll get them in the morning. It's fine.
There you go. But it was it's.
Oh, your chat is saying the Nile River. I don't know where they were. I don't.
Yeah, they were in the Nile. So really? Yeah, there's. Ooh. Yeah, so you've got Nile Crocs. That's what I thought. I could have sworn there were Nile Crocs. They're big too. They're not. I can't remember where the biggest ones are. I want to say it's Australia, probably because everything in Australia is bigger and meant to kill you.
I just assume Australia is out to kill everybody. To be honest,
ain't that the truth?
As a whole,
yeah. Just in general, it just in general wants to kill you.
Yeah, I love this. Is my favorite shot.
Mm-hmm.
The Hamunaptra, when they first get to Hamunaptra, and he's like, just wait for it, kind of thing. And the sun comes up, and it just, the way that was shot, I'm like, oh, this is cool. The city just comes out of nowhere. Oh. Yes. And then, of course, he ruins the moment. Here we go again.
Yeah. And you're like, yeah. He's like, get ready for it. We're about to be shown the way. And she's like, she's looking at him like he's insane. And like, I love how even Benny's like, patience, my friends, patience. And then, of course, you've got Rick. When they're on the boat, Rick calls Benny out. He's like, what's the plan? What's the plan, Benny? You going to take him out to the middle of the desert and leave him to rot? And he's like, unfortunately, no. So, like, that already tells you Benny's character. Like, you already saw it when he abandoned Rick during the fighting. Yep. But he, he freaking, then he's like, yeah, I would have totally left him in the desert to rot, but they're only paying me half. And then I only get half when I come back, when I bring them back safe.
So they're smarter than you are, basically, is what I'm saying.
Pretty much. They're like, yeah, we recognize a weasel when we see one. But, and then, of course, you've got Jonathan's big mouth, because they were they make the bet that night. They're like, what makes you so sure you're going to get there? And he's like, well, what makes you? And they're like, well, we got us a man who's actually been there. And then Jonathan tries to, like, brag. And then that's the other thing. Like, Rick never has to be overly, like, aggressive. You know what I mean? He can just give, like, these little cues. He hits Jonathan with his bag, and Jonathan gets the message and he stops. You know what I mean? The only time that he really, I won't say disregards everybody, but really the only time that he's like, no, like, we're not putting up with any of this. We got, like, it's literally the only time is when he throws her over his shoulder. Other than that, he's pretty much like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just like, he's like, my job is to take you out there and bring you back. And I have done that. Contract terminated. And she's
time
like,
to go.
That's all I am.
This is not our problem. And she's like, the world is ending. So yes, it is our problem. Because we live here on the world.
It's everybody's problem. Yeah.
Everybody's problem.
I love it. Man. I really, really love it. There's so much good in this movie, and it's so oh god, Imhotep is just such a good bad guy. And I don't know, I didn't pity him at the end of this one, but, and I know we're not talking Mummy Returns today, but at the end of Mummy Returns, when she leaves him, when Anck-su-namun runs away and leaves him, I pitied him a little bit. I did. I was like, ooh, he literally just cast himself into the underworld to be ripped apart by the damned souls.
Yeah.
I feel kind of bad for him. Like, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. I read a theory. I'll have to see if I can find it before we do Mummy Returns. So I think it was on Reddit somewhere, a theory as to why she did that, because it was so out of character. I thought it was out of character. And it was something about like her full soul, or her, like, all of her organs were never put back into her body correctly. Like, it was just her soul that went back into this body. And so it wasn't really fully an Noxonomoon. Like, just because the soul is an Noxonomoon doesn't mean that the heart of the person is. And the heart of the person that she was inhabiting was like, F this, I'm out. Like, this is getting too weird for me, kind of thing. And I was kind of like, oh, that's an interesting, I like that, because it was really out of character. Like, I was kind of like, we've done all of this crazy stuff up until now. All of a sudden you have a problem with this? I don't understand. But that made kind of sense, because he just restored her soul into a person that was already existing. It wasn't like he brought her back to life. You know what I mean? So it was interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Like, because I thought, so for me, I was like, oh, I guess she must not have really ever loved him. But I mean, and yeah, in the first movie, she really used him to sort of get Pharaoh out of the way, because they killed Pharaoh together. And then she killed herself because she knew it was going to be worse if she didn't. So they were like, and because my mom's like, well, everything she's ever done has always been selfish. Like, that's she basically used Imhotep to help kill the Pharaoh. And then she killed herself because she even says, you're the only one that can bring me back. So, like, she killed herself with the full intention of being brought back to life and then doing whatever she wanted. And so, my mom pointed, she was like, so who knows if she would have actually stayed with Imhotep after that or not? Because
that's a good point too.
So I love the theories surrounding it. That's actually, I like the organ one. That's pretty interesting to hear.
Yeah, because it was never her body. Like, the first movie, it's literally a Noxonomoon's body. But this, in this sequel, it's just like Evie's the reincarnation of of the princess. She's a reincarnation, but she's not actually a Noxonomoon. And so just because the soul gets put in this body, it doesn't mean that, where did that lady's soul go? You know what I mean? Like, it's like the war of, and I was like, ooh, that's kind of a dark twist. I like that. I'm here for this.
Yeah,
I like this.
I do. I like that one too. That's really awesome. Cal G sent a $3 and a $2 two-parter. So thank you, Cal G. Says, I've been watching the film for this stream. Haven't gotten through it all, although so far I'm enjoying it. You've never seen it before now? Oh my God.
Spoilers.
I'm glad you're enjoying it. It's so good. The production design, costumes, and the look of the mummy itself still hold up. Yep. Also, one of my favorite scenes is O'Connell throwing a chair. Oh, I do love that scene.
Yeah.
And he hits Benny in the knees. And then the second part says, throwing a chair at Benny. It made me laugh so hard. Brendan Fraser really sells this film for me. I always thought he had the stereotypical sitcom dad look, but the guy can act. Yes, he can. And this film proves it. Godspeed and keep up the phenomenal work. Well, thank you, Cal G. I agree. I forgot about that scene. It's Benny.
Me too. I forgot. It's so funny. And I don't know if I seem to remember, and I seem to remember reading something that wasn't scripted. And Brendan just was kind of over it. And he was like, you know what? Screw this. And he picked up the chair and threw it. Like, that's ended up being in the scene. It wasn't originally a scripted thing. It was more of like, we've done this enough times and I'm done. Kind of like how Harrison Ford, after a while, was like, I know. Like, that kind of a thing. I remember that somebody saying something about that. And I was like, that sounds about right.
Well, it's the same thing that happened in Indiana Jones. He was supposed to, like, when the guy shows up with his sword, he was supposed to like, and he was like, I don't want to do this. And so he just like pulled out his gun and like shot the guy because he didn't feel like doing the actual scene. And then they kept it in the movie. And I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah. He said he had 102. He was sick with something. He had food poisoning or something, he said.
Yeah.
And he had like 102 fever. The water made them all sick, something like that. And he just was like, I'm done.
I'm done.
That's my favorite scene of that movie. I freaking love that movie. God.
That's become iconic. Like, that has become pop culture iconicism. Like, that is iconic. And then last one that I see is Raj Williams for $10. Thank you, Raj. Says the scarab bugs. Yes. Oh my God. Those things, like, the noise that they make, and like, because the thing about this movie is you know what they are because they show you that they like when they dump them into Imhotep's sarcophagus with them.
Yes.
You don't really like so you know what these bugs are. But like to just see the sheer amount of them and what they're actually capable of and how disgusting they really are, you're just like, whoa. And you can like when you hear them, one of the 3 scenes in this movie that really makes my spine tingle is when it's them. So it's Rick, Edie, Jonathan, and the jailer that, he's like, I'm here to protect my investment. He's also a great little weasel worm. Like, he was perfectly cast, too. Oh my god, the scene where they hear the bugs running in the ceiling above them, that scene still makes my spine go blah. Like,
so gross.
Ugh. And then, of course, like, the other thing I like about this movie is that they leave a lot they still show, don't tell, but they leave a lot up to the imagination. Like when Benny's torch goes out at the end,
Oh, yeah.
and you hear the bugs like just devour him. You can like still see it happening, but there's nothing on the screen. Like the artistic professionalism of this film and the delivery of this film is absolutely top notch. I freaking love this movie with just it's so well shot and they don't treat the audience like they're idiots.
No.
They give you enough information at the beginning when they're like this is, Hominoptera, the city of the dead. Here's the fair, like, so they set you up, they give you all the information, and then they just let you enjoy the film. They're not beating you over the head with exposition. They're not trying to shove messaging in there. They're not like if there's one thing, and I know we talked about this a little bit ago, but like Evie never at one point is like, I am woman, hear me roar, I don't need you, or anything like that. She's very much, and she's like the one who would be a skeptic. You would think Rick would be the skeptic, but no, Evie's over here like, no harm ever came from reading a book, and you're like, put it away, put it away,
don't do it.
And I love that line is in this movie, and then of course he's an Inkheart, and we do need to talk about that film at some point, because for any of you who've never read the books or watched the movie, and I am devastated that movie didn't get more attention and any sequels. But basically what happens is Brendan's Fraser's character, any story he reads out loud comes to life, essentially. And it's a gift or a curse, depending, like, he thinks it's a curse. There's a whole, obviously that's part of the story. But it's really, really interesting and intriguing. It's a great, it is a really, really great film. And Brendan Fraser does an amazing job. He plays the dad in that one too, but he's the adventurer. He's like, I'm going to do whatever I can to, protect my family. Like, he's very much a protective alpha. And like, I love that. I really do, because it's something that you don't, I'm going to say words. It pisses me off in modern day, because anytime you see it, and it's a trope in writing as well. It's called an alpha hole instead of an asshole. And so they call them alpha holes. And I'm like, that's got so many innuendos. But yeah, that's what they're called, because they think that an alpha guy is this roided out asshole, illogical, just freaking monster of a human being. And that's not how they are. That's not who they are. That's not what they do. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I miss this kind of alpha. Like, he's definitely not Arnie or Sly size by any means, but he's not out of shape either. Like, he's still buff, he's still capable, he's smart, he's dedicated, and he's obviously got a very protective nature. And we don't see this anymore, and I don't know why. I mean, I know why, but it still makes me mad.
It's so frustrating. So frustrating.
And I love at the end of the movie when they ride off on the camel with all the gold. and like they still get to ride off in the sunset, but instead of a horse, it's a camel, and they have all
It's
the
a
gold
camel.
strapped. And they're just like,
And they have no idea. They have no idea the
none.
gold's there.
And then Jonathan's like, well, looks like we leave empty-handed again. And Rick's like, I wouldn't say that. And he looks at Evie with just like this all-consuming love and affection and just appreciation of her. And I think one of my favorite themes or trope or whatever you want to call it in Mummy Returns is the fact that they're still so passionately in love with each other.
Oh God, yeah, I love that. After they're on the bus and they defeat the soldiers, and she's just like, she just come here, and I love his little nose nuzzles.
Yes,
he does this with her all the time, and I was like trying to pay attention to see if that's a thing that's a Brendan thing. He does it in George of the Jungle too. He does it with what the heck is her name? I can't think of her name now, but he does it with her in George of the Jungle as well. So I don't know if it's a Brendan thing and he just naturally does it himself, or it depends on the character and he chooses to do it depending on the character. I don't know, but I just love that. I love it.
Give me the nuzzles. I will take all of the nuzzles. Give me the nose nut. I want them. I love them. I'll take them all. But I think I saw it in the chat, and I'm sorry that it blew past me. I don't know who said it, but I want to say it was a Troubled Green when they're talking about how he's like, we need to get out of here, and she's like, no, we do not. And I think a Troubled Green, I think it was you, where he said, I love how he was helping her pack. He's just like picking up her crap and throwing it in the suitcase, and she's like scooping it out, and he's like, we're gone, we're out, we're leaving, and she's like, no, we are not. And like, he's not being like physical with her, but he's showing how intent he is on getting her to safety, because he's literally scooping her shit out of the drawers and packing it right,
just like throwing it in the trunk.
Yep. And it just shows you their chemistry and how comfortable they are with each other, and like it's something that is like you need that kind of casting. I know that you and I have talked about this like behind scenes. I don't know if we ever talked about it on streams together. We may have, but like I personally think that Henry Cavill was excellently cast as Superman. I don't think he got a real chance to actually be either Clark Kent or Superman. He was more, the Red Sun or like the nihilistic version of Superman. I think he would be a great classic Superman. I think that the one thing that really killed it for me was I love oh god, now I can't think of her name.
Amy Adams.
Amy Adams, there it is. Like, I love Amy Adams. She's adorable and Enchanted. Like, I loved her in Shop. Like, she has so many great I love her in so much stuff. And I'm like, when I heard that she was Lois Lane, I was like, okay, this should be really good. And it's like, she was good on screen by herself, and he was good on screen by himself. But like, when the two of them got together, it was like a sibling thing. There was like no chemistry there.
Yeah, I think they have more of a friend. I will say the bathroom scene in Batman versus Superman where he gets in the tub with her, that was really cute. I thought that was like the most chemistry they've ever had. But yeah, I feel you. They don't. But on the flip side, if you've seen Superman and Lois, Tyler and Bitsy, their chemistry together is like, it's insane. I'm like
I love Superman. Like, I was really, really scared about Superman and Lois. I'm not gonna lie. I have been pleasantly surprised so far. I really hope they don't screw it up. But yeah, the chemistry between those two is like electric. It's fire.
It's so good.
It's not quite Rick and Evie, but
no, but it's definitely good. It's like Tom Welling, and I can't think of the girl who played Lois in the show. I didn't really like her as Lois Lane, the character, but the two of them worked really well together, so it worked. I loved Brandon Routh. I didn't like, and I like the actors that played Lois Lane in that movie too, but they didn't work well really either together, and it didn't. That whole movie was a mess, but they didn't work either. It just was like, and they just didn't have any chemistry. Period. At least Amy and Lily have like a friendship.
Yes, you can tell. But she always. It's almost like she feels intimidated by. Like, I don't know. She seems to not be her usual like self when she's on screen with him, especially when they're dialoguing together. And you don't have that issue here. Rachel and Brendan are perfectly matched. Like, they're each other's equals, and they banter back and forth really, really well. but they never try to belittle the other one. You know what I mean? And in fact, they help each other grow. And so it's heartwarming to see that, but also it just makes the film so much better because they are your two leads. They are your two protagonists, and so you want them to get together. And of course, you know, I always find it funny because Jonathan is the third wheel, but like not like Rick already kind of treats him like the mischievous brother. Like when the scene where they get on the boat. I don't know how we didn't talk about that. When she's like, I think he's rude and like arrogant and not at all charming and just like bad mouthing him. And then he's like, anybody I know? And he's like cleaned up. And then Jonathan like taps his jacket, and then Rick checks to make sure his wallet's right there. And he's like, I never steal from a partner. And he's like, yeah. Sure. And he's like, and then she was like, do you swear? You know, and because she doesn't believe him. And then he's like, listen, lady, my whole garrison believed in this thing so damn much that without orders, they marched across the desert or into Egypt to find that city. And when we got there, all we found was sand and blood. I love that. I love that line. And then she's just like, she's like, damn. Also, like, I love when he kisses her in the gym. He's like, and then you find out the reason for it. She's like, why did you kiss me? And he's like, you really want to know? And he's like bringing her closer, and he's get me the hell out of here. Yeah. And then she's like, why did you kiss me? Because you could tell she's never done anything. Like, I don't know that Evie's ever been kissed to this point, because she sort of gives off that very, you know, she's very focused, she's very driven, and that kiss throws her. Like, that's the reason she doesn't hear the dude come in her room, is because she's over. It's like she's dropping, her clothes aren't getting hung up on the hook, and she's like knocking stuff over.
We've all been there.
And she's like, it wasn't that good of a kiss anyway. You know, she's like yelling at herself, and he's all like, I was about to be hanged. It seemed like a good idea at the time. And I was like, ooh, that's what everyone wants to hear.
That's not at all what anybody wants to hear. Dang, I was like, ouch.
And then he's like, what'd I say?
I don't understand. She gets so mad. Ooh, I love it when she does that.
Mm-hmm. They're just so good together. I don't know how you could not love this movie. It's just so much fun, and it's also got, like you said, it's got the horror elements, it's got the supernatural elements, it's got freaking gunfights and sword fights and women and female empowerment, family empowerment, balanced needs. It's just so.
Yep. I said manly men.
Yeah. Yes, man. Oh, manly men. Manly men who aren't scared to like be like, oh, she knows all the stuff about Egypt. We should probably listen to her. Just saying.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
yep. Until common sense come into play, and Rick's like, maybe we shouldn't do this, and she's like, we're fine. We're fine.
Right. I'm just gonna open this book. It's fine. It's fine.
Oh, look, campfire whooshed. That happens a lot around here. Like, he's like, you can tell he's like nervous, and he's like trying to diffuse it with humor. And you're just
that happens a lot around here. Because you're just looking at him like, what happens a lot around here? I don't know what you're talking about. Too funny. I love it. I love it so much.
I do. This movie, it brings so much happy good feels. And I really do. I don't know. Like, there's nothing to not love about this movie. I'm probably going to rewatch it again tonight, quite frankly.
Oh yeah. Now I want to watch it while I finish packing.
See, ta-da! And so, well, I know you do have some stuff to do. So last week I found out, I don't know if you know who Rachel Hardy or Cole McGinnis are. They're two music YouTubers. And last week, after I got done talking, I sort of started talking about them, and I showed my chat some of the stuff. So I told them that I would pick like one or two different nerdy like where my inner nerd can kind of come out as well. You can sort of see what I love.
Oh yeah.
But it's but you've got, so last week was Rachel Hardy and Cole McGinnis, and hang on, I have to, because I think you might actually you might like this too. His name is I'm gonna say it wrong. I think it's Jeff Castellucci, possibly. I'm not 100% sure on that.
But
So this was how. So I found him because I listened to Cole McGinnis, who Bastard thinks is terrible, but he is Irish and sings a lot of stuff. He's in his like sweaters and stuff. He sounds amazing. I love his stuff. His Hoist the Colors is pretty popular. This is Jeff. I'm gonna say it wrong. Anyway, you're gonna figure out that I have a type. I mean, I think everybody has pretty much figured that out. But listen to this man sing this song. So this is all him. He does all of the.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like Sam Elliott.
So that's Jeff.
That's awesome. And you're gonna be streaming with them?
He sounds like Sam Elliott.
Yeah, he sounds like Sam Elliott.
Oh no, did I lose you?
No, I'm here. Hello?
Me? No, God, I wish. No, that's just. Yeah, no, he's yeah. So that's, if anybody doesn't know, that's 16 Tons, originally sung by Tennessee Ernie Ford, and he like. Holy crap! Like, did you hear how deep his voice got? Like, God dang it, that should be illegal. That should be illegal. But yeah, so that's Jeff Castellucci. He sings a lot of stuff. He's got a cover of Misty Mountains. That's pretty good. He did the Monster Mash. So he's got a bunch of different stuff. House of the Rising Sun is a pretty good one that I like. But like I said, I don't want to. I know I've already kept you a few minutes over, but I figured that you probably wouldn't mind that little delay.
That sounded good.
But yeah, yep. That's one of the reasons I love my husband as much as I do. He's got a bass voice, and I'm here for it. I am here for it. I'm like, babe, you should sing, and he's like, yeah, probably not. And I'm like, I love you. You know, You're supposed to. But yeah, so thank you for coming on and talking The Mummy with me. I guess so to wrap up, yeah, so thanks for coming. We'll make, and like I said, we'll make this one quick. So I know you got to pack and we've all got stuff going on, but if there was one thing you had to pick about this movie that is your absolute favorite and your absolute least favorite, what would they be?
Ooh. I think my least favorite, as I've gotten older, I want a little bit more. Like my least favorite is we don't get enough of I think, remember when Imhotep is lurking around in that black like hood because he's not fully developed, and it was like kind of creepy, sneaking around through I think they could have done that. I would have liked to seen that a little bit more, just to kind of see him, where his head was at. Maybe a little bit more of their relationship, him and Moon, just to kind of flesh out just how much they loved each other. But that's just little nitpicky stuff. And the best part about it for me is just, honestly, as a whole, like, and that sounds such like a cop-out answer, but the movie has it like, there's nothing
it doesn't.
wrong with this movie. There really isn't. There's nothing wrong with it. So I have no complaints.
I agree. I 100% agree. Okay, Eric, I will go look really quick. Oh, Eric K, thank you. He says for $10, 2 amazing ladies reviewing an amazing movie.
Yeah.
Thank you, Eric K. It is an amazing movie.
It is an amazing movie.
Eric.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with this movie. Nothing wrong with it.
It is literally, you can watch it anytime. It's one of those films where it's like, I want some action, The Mummy. I want some romance, The Mummy. I want some horror, The Mummy. Like, it literally, it hits all the marks, and it's timeless, and it's just so freaking good. I want to punch a wall.
I know. I love it so much.
But, well, Tuggs, where can they find you? Where can they watch you, listen to you, read what you say?
I'm on Twitter, and I'm on Twitch as ThatTuggLife with 2 G's. Basically the same handle on both. And then of course I'm with Geeks and Gamers, so I do park hopping. That's pretty much it. And then sometimes I get invited on awesome streams like this, which is nice. So.
And of course you do Poor Choices as well.
Oh yes, Poor Choices. Yeah, on Wednesdays with the Extra Girl. Yeah, I lumped that in the Geeks and Gamers thing. Wednesdays Poor Choices. We started out talking reality shows like The Bachelor kind of thing, but now we just kind of all over the place. We talked Squid Game yesterday. So nice. And next time I'll have more time, I promise. It's just because I have to get to the airport.
No, girl, it's totally
3 hours.
No, you're totally fine. I think I would have to agree with you on, like, there's literally nothing wrong with this. The whole movie is my favorite part. Like, obviously I've hit some of my highlighted parts, but really there's nothing to hate about this movie.
No.
The one thing, if I could say, if there was one thing that I wish maybe would have been done just slightly differently, it would be that either I liked your answer where Imhotep is in the cloak and he's sort of like skulking around. I would have kind of liked to have seen Benny, maybe, like, you know how he's dragging the gold out and he's like, I'm gonna go back for more, and so his greed is ultimately what kills him. But I would have liked to have seen him maybe, like, even if he's at Imhotep's side, if he was like dressed a little bit better, you know what I mean? Like, because he thinks he's getting everything he's ever wanted. Just because I would have, not that his demise, especially the foreshadowing that Evie gives, where she's like, nasty little cretins such as yourself always get their comeuppance, and he's like, they do, and she's like, always. So I love that line. So I just kind of wish.
Where'd she go? Did I lose her? Uh-oh. What happened? Oh. This is my stream now, you guys. Hi. What happened? There you are.
I have no idea. My internet died. Okay.
Oh no.
So I guess that means that so you can find Tuggs on Twitter and Instagram and Twitch. I guess that's my cue that we got to go. Watch this movie. That's all. That'll be my closing. Yes. My closing bit is, if whether you've seen it or not, you know how good it is. If you haven't, you don't know what you're missing. It's
yes.
Give it a watch. Follow Tuggs. watch her streams and her Twitch and watch her do her thing. She's awesome over on Geeks and Gamers. I love all of you so much. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by. I know I didn't really get to say hi to everybody, but as you can tell, like, she's got to get to the airport, so we had to do this kind of really condensed stream today. So I really hope you all have a wonderful night. I will see you next week. I'm actually going to be streaming with Subhuman84. He and I are going to do a stream. So you guys know what we're going to be talking about this Sunday like I usually do. So I love all of you. Much love. Thank you for coming. Tugs, have a great flight.
Thank you.
And one day I will eventually get an outro, but I don't have one. So we'll just say good night and